go ahead, Bill. All right, great. Thank you. All right, so this document here, I got to put over three documents. One is going to be the whole process. One is the criteria which we're going to be, the product can be found on. And then the third is the non-conforming process. So I'm going to get started with the whole process. As always, any questions or something that makes sense. All right, so the whole process. So the first point here just highlights that we're going to be receiving the product based on the procedure that we discussed on Tuesday. Philips product that meets the hold inspection criteria per this form will be scanned and physically placed into a holding area. So before I even go any further, there's a document that Philips has supplied to us for which we have to hold accountable that all of their products must meet these specific guidelines. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time looking at each one of these pictures, but as you can see, the green check marks means it's okay. The red X's means it needs to go into the holding area. And I'll get into more what the holding area is, but this document's about 10 pages long. Hopefully we can work with Philips to shorten this document as time goes on, but as of right now, I've been instructed that's not going to happen. So think of this document what you will, but this is what we've been supplied, and this is what we have to abide by. So anything that has a red X in here will have to go through this whole process. So I'll make sure all of you guys, I think you all have this document. If you don't, you will after this call. So you guys can take a look at this on your own, but this is when you see this SOP referring to the hold criteria, that's this document here. So the holding area will be a physical area in the warehouse as well as a transactional location within the WMS. Scanning into this specific location will immediately trigger an email to the appropriate Philips personnel. So whenever you see product come across your dock that has an X on it like this, it's going to need to be scanned into F hold. So what this is going to do, it's going to have to be a separate area in the warehouse, and it's going to be scanned into this location in the WMS, which is automatically going to trigger an email and a picture to be sent to the Philips team, letting them know that something's been scanned into this area, and they've got to look at it and determine, is it non-conforming or not. All right, so this email will notify Philips that the product has been entered into the holding area. Philips is responsible for logging into the WMS to view the image of the product to determine if the appropriate product disposition. If Philips deems that the product is non-conforming, McCollisters will immediately quarantine the product and follow SOP 14, non-conforming product, which we'll touch base on in just a minute. If Philips deems that the product is conforming, it will be placed into finished goods inventory. So if you scan it into F hold, you'll get a message back from Philips saying this inventory is good, and you'll just scan it into a regular area in the warehouse with all the rest of the finished good product. If we do not receive a disposition, the product will remain in the hold area until further instructions by Philips. So that's the hold work instructions, short and sweet, straight to the point. Basically, if it doesn't meet these guidelines, it's got to be scanned into the hold area. Philips will do the rest from there and let you know when to move it into finished goods. Otherwise, you'll just receive the material based on the instructions that we went over on Tuesday.
And so Salem, real quick. So that hold area is really important, right? And that's going to be treated as if it's non-conforming product because you just don't know if it is or not yet. You're waiting for Philips to disposition it. So under no circumstances should that product come out of that hold location until you receive either a yay or nay from Philips, right? If you're ever debating if it is or not, always assume that it's non-conforming. And so you can always put it into the non-conforming product, but that hold area is treated basically as if the product is not conforming until you receive notification otherwise.
probably looking at this document right now thinking, a lot of the freight in your warehouse looks like this. We're not going to go back and analyze all the material that's already in the warehouse, anything like that. This is only going to be for material that comes across the dock moving forward. So,
Salem, this is Dave Pilch. This is for James too. I thought when we had our meeting, I thought we decided that we didn't want to put it in non-conforming until we got a disposition because of the paperwork that goes with an item that's a non-conforming piece. I thought we'd want to wait, and that's the idea, the hold area, and not mark it non-conforming because of the paperwork.
That's 100% correct. Yep.
Right.
That's
So this is not non-conforming product. It's just going into a hold area until Phillips makes a decision. Yes, it's non-conforming. It needs to go through the non-conforming process, or no, it's not non-conforming. Put it with the good area. So you're really going to have three separate inventories for Phillips now. You're going to have your good material, you're going to have your hold material, which you're waiting disposition on from Phillips, and then you're going to have your material that goes through the non-conforming process, and it's in a completely separate non-conforming area. So there's no additional paperwork or forms to fill out or anything like that for anything that goes into this hold area until Phillips deems that it is in fact non-conforming material.
So have they set any kind of like someone's watching, monitoring that? Oftentimes we'll get a shipment in and gets reloaded right back out. So
they have agreed to, as soon as they've got a team that will be monitoring this email address. And so
weekends
they're aware. Yes, 24/7. They're aware of.
Yeah. So we've talked about that, and at the end of the day, that's on Phillips, right? That you guys need to do your job, to basically, put that product into a hold. If you don't hear anything from Phillips, that's on them, right? And so you're still doing your job. That means you can't release that product until you get notification from them. So just keep holding it until you receive that notification.
Good question, though. Anything else? You guys in Chicago, you're good with this?
Hey, Salem, it's Chris. I know we've talked in the past about our location being FOSD, which is for all non-conforming product that has come in that we have moved to that location that Phillips should be going through.
Yeah.
Today is the first I've ever heard of that F-hold.
Exactly. So great point. It's going to be a change for you guys. So the FOS&D is going to go away. And so whatever you guys have in FOS&D, if we truly think that it's non-conforming, then we'll just have to iron this out with Phillips before we throw it all through the non-conforming process. Because I think you guys do have quite a bit of material in OS&D right now.
We have quite a bit, yes.
Yeah. So I don't know how much legwork you guys have already done with Phillips and how much visibility they have to that freight. I'll go through it with you guys, and if they've already determined that, yes, you need to put that aside, it's non-conforming, then we'll need to put that freight, obviously in a non-conforming area. We'll put it in F non-conforming. We'll do all that. But I think probably a lot of the stuff you guys have in there may be good to go. So I'll work with you guys aside, just to know you guys do have a lot of freight in there, but it'll need to either go in F hold and we'll await a real disposition for them. We may want to consider putting it all in F hold and just say, hey, this is what we think may be non-conforming. You guys give us a disposition and decide if you want it to go through non-conforming or not.
Okay. All right, that's fine. I'd say just in order to keep things moving on the whole game plan in place already, then this may be just another call we need to have then between you and I, or us.
Yeah, or like I said, we could even throw it all in F hold and say, hey, this is the new process we're following. This is all of the stuff we did have in FOS&D. Let us know if you want us to either put it with the good freight or we'll send it through the non-conforming process.
Okay. Absolutely.
I like that idea because that triggers them to do something about it.
Right. Good question, Chris, though. So I'll touch base with you again offline on that. All right, Burlington, you guys good on this?
Yeah, we are good.
All right, so the last piece of this is non-conforming. So at this point, this process will be as if it's already gone to the hold process and Phillips has came back and said, yes, this is non-conforming product. It doesn't align with the conformities and the acceptance requirements document, and it needs to go through this process. So just to level set a little bit here, I know for those of you who are in Burlington, we had talked about the manual process, the forms we were going to fill out when a non-conformity came across our dock. I don't know if everybody knows this, but we did proceed with the EQMS system, so we're going through implementation with that. So there's going to be a little bit of verbiage in here that needs to be changed as it relates to the forms and documents that need to be filled out. But as far as from a process perspective, this should be pretty pinpointed. So I'm just going to start at 6.0 with the procedure. 2 pages long, so if you've got questions along the way, stop me. All right. So all products determined to be non-conforming shall be stored in a designated quarantine location. So as I mentioned, we're going to have 3 locations. We'll have good products, cold products, and then non-conforming will be completely separate. Operations will initiate the non-conforming material report documenting the non-conformity on Form 1301, non-conforming material report. This again will be electronic. So non-conformity shall be evaluated to determine the organization responsible for the non-conformance, possible effect on product, notification requirements, and if an investigation is required. If an investigation is required, it is expected to be conducted by a subject matter expert who understands the product and process. So this is Phillips. Operations will determine the disposition of the non-conforming product, and the justification must be documented in the non-conformity report. So these bullet points here will go hand in hand with the report that's filled out in the software. So I think by filling out the non-conforming report in the software, you're automatically going to abide by these obligations. Documentation and records of any actions performed must be obtained from the customer or internally and attached to the non-conforming material report. Operations will forward the approved report to the customer, and the customer will adjust the disposition of the non-conforming product accordingly and execute the requirements stated on the non-conforming report. So I'm going to just kind of stop here and let you guys know how I envision this working. So product comes across the dock. Warehouse identifies that it's non-conforming, or it's going to go into the hold. Phillips comes back and says this is non-conforming. It needs to go through the non-conforming process. At that point, it's really going to be on the branch management to fill out this non-conforming report. So it's not going to be on the dock workers at this point. I mean, you guys can discuss that at the branch level if you feel that you've got adequate management out on the dock to do this. But I envision this being the branch manager's responsibility to go into the software and fill out this report. So they'll need to, the warehouse team will need to come with you with the information, the inventory number, product, everything of that nature that is non-conforming, and then you guys will work with Brad to fill out the non-conforming report. All right, I'm going to keep going. So at minimum, quality assurance operations and the customer representative are required to approve the justification and disposition the use of non-conforming products. At no time is it to be placed in the finished goods inventory without direction from an unauthorized customer representative. Review of the nonconformity shall be conducted to determine if any trends or patterns of occurrence require attention per management review. So this will really be on the quality team to analyze the data of nonconformities and see if there's any trends of damaged product coming across the dock. So if it's certain providers or anything like that. Any questions on this first part? I know you guys are kind of blind right now because you haven't been introduced to the software and you don't really know what it looks like. But as I said, we're going through implementation right now. So as soon as we figure out how this stuff works, we'll have internal training sessions so everyone's aware of how each of these modules work.
Hey Salem, this is Brad. Are you going to flash up the form 1401? I think that's the number of it, just so, or 1301? 1301 or 1401?
It'll be 1401. So that's what unless that's the placard.
No, it's a
Yeah, so
page.
this is, I think this is what's all going to be housed in the software.
Right, the form will be there. So what you're looking at there is basically we're asking branch managers to complete section 1, which is just everything you can tell us about the issue, where the location is, which part of the process is affected. And when you get to do one of these, myself or Salem or at some point James may be able to help you with this first section. But I think the way this is going to work is the first section will be filled out by the branch manager. If you scroll up or down to section 2, section 2 is the investigation portion of it. So that would be done, I think, Salem, you just said Phillips would conduct the investigation.
Phillips will, at the end of the day, be the one who determines whether or not someone needs to come in from Phillips and do an investigation. Yes, we will never, we are not allowed to open up the crates and touch their equipment. So we will never be part of the BR.
Right, so this will get assigned to Phillips.
Hey, Brad, before you move on, so just real quick, so from the investigation standpoint, you could aid in the investigation, right? Because at the end of the day, you might know what caused it or something to that extent, or how it was caused. So you'll, help with that investigation with Phillips.
Yeah, and I'm suggesting, James, that the branch manager works with their warehouse folks and will give a very descriptive, thing back in section 1 that will capture what happened.
Understood. Yep.
Yeah, and so again, this is just kind of a sample of what it's going to look like. Like I said, this will all be electronic within the software, so it's going to look a little bit different, but the overall information idea of it will be very similar.
I guess my reason why I wanted to show this form is that it may sound like a lot of work and look like a lot of work, but basically we've got to give a good description of what we believe to have happened and the condition of the material. And then it really needs to go to Phillips so they can conduct their investigation. They can do this section 3 and do the disposition because they have the technical expertise to be able to determine the disposition of things. And then final disposition in section 4 then is just a matter of signatories.
Yeah, and so circling back to this, keep in mind that it's going to be in Phillips, it's going to be the operations folks, really, who are going to be looking at this product and determining whether or not it meets these requirements. And so it's going to be always in their best interest to deem this stuff not non-conforming, right? Because they always want to get this stuff off the dock and get it to the customer. So I don't see them calling all of this stuff non-conforming. But we at least have to do our due diligence and send it through the whole process, and they can make that final determination. So yeah, Brad, anything else you wanted to touch on this?
No, thanks for taking the time to flip through that form real quick.
No problem. And then while I've got this up, it mentions that a non-conforming placard will be needed to place on every non-conforming piece. This will be the non-conforming placard that will need to go on each piece. Pretty straightforward. All right, and then the last bit of this procedure kind of circles back to the receiving process. So it just says that it's going to be inspected prior to receipt, inspected for gross damage per, circles back to that same form, any customer specific requirements. If it does not meet the acceptance criteria, will be scanned into the hold area, automatically trigger the email, digital photos will be taken in WMS. Returned equipment and parts that are damaged, not expected at the warehouse, or categorized as quarantined by the customer will be considered non-conforming product. So I mentioned there was going to be those 3 inventories. It's worth noting that the hold area and the non-conforming area will obviously be reserved locations in the WMS, so you won't be able to put those pieces on an outbound work order or anything. And that covers the nitty-gritty of non-conforming. The rest of the stuff is basic receiving procedures that you guys follow on a daily basis. Make sure you're noting damages on the BOL. Customer will be notified the non-conforming product has arrived at the warehouse, or product in the warehouse has been categorized as non-conforming within 24 hours. You guys won't have to do this because it'll automatically go through the WMS. That's really it. We spent a lot of time developing this process, figuring out, what's going to take the most burden off of the warehouse and put it back on Phillips. Because like I said, it's in their best interest for this stuff not to be non-conforming. Obviously, they want to catch any damaged products that may actually be damaged and catch that at the warehouse to the customer. But they want to please the customer. So anything that may not be damaged, but it's got a broken limb or something, they're gonna say send it. They don't want it to get held up here. So
yeah, and to kind of highlight that, Salem, these are medical devices, right? And so if there's any damage at all, they should definitely go into that hold for that inspection process. And you just want to make sure that if you're in doubt, right, be conservative with it. Throw it into the hold area and have Phillips determine it, right? Then that places the burden off of you. You're still doing your job, right, as you're intended. You're still pleasing the customer by doing that, and so just make sure you guys, follow that process. That's the number one priority, is you follow the process.
Yep. So like I said, don't worry about going back through all your freight in the warehouse and reanalyzing it and trying to determine if it needs to go through this hold process, except for you guys in Chicago, because you guys have already been following a similar process to this. It would be easy for you guys, and it'd be great practice to get moving and throw this stuff immediately into the hold process. So you guys are a little bit of a separate animal. The rest of you, I don't think you guys have non-conforming areas right now. If you do, get with me and we'll iron out the same process that we're going to do with Chicago. It'd definitely be great practice and a good way to get started on this. So, Brad, do you have anything else for the group?
No, sir, I don't. Thanks.
All right, I'm just gonna go around the horn and make sure you guys are good. Atlanta?
Nope, we're okay right now. Yep, we're good.
Fontana?
We're fine.
Where are you now and where's Chicago?
Hey Salem, currently we have a bit of FGM, DC, and LMP all in our non-conforming area. Is this just for LMP, or are we going to follow this for all three?
We're gonna follow this for all three.
Because FGM was instructed on a different way from Phillips themselves.
Okay, we will talk offline, but yeah, we'll follow these specific SOPs for every medical customer that we have. So we're highlighting Phillips right now. Phillips is only going to be audited to begin with. I know some of you guys in the back of your head are thinking about Intuitive or some of those other medical customers.
Get oil and come back.
We can tackle those down the road, but right now we just need to focus on the Phillips customers, and that will include LMP and those other, FGM. So I'll touch base with you offline, Gabe, and make sure we're hitting all the guidelines with that as well.
Sounds good, thank you.
No. Posh, Chris, anything else from you guys?
Yeah, I'm good.
Hey, Salem.
All right, Billy. Hey, what's up, Gabe?
Hey, just want to make sure all these SOPs that we've been kind of going through, they are accessible for our guys to start viewing and kind of going over, making sure, because obviously with the newer stuff that's kicking in.
Yeah, they are available, and so everything's going to be housed in this. It's going to almost be like a separate WMS. It's going to be very user-friendly, easy to use, but it's going to be where all of our SOPs are housed, where all of our work instructions are kept, where these non-conforming reports are going to be filled out, where all employee records are going to be kept. So it's going to be a piece of software where a lot of important information is kept, and it'll be accessible for all of you guys to use at once. So we're still going through the implementation, just making sure that we've got everything covered and we know how to use it. But as soon as we get all of the SOPs and everything in there, we will open that up for you guys to go in and access and play around and do whatever you want in there. But in the meantime, I think we've shared a OneDrive link with everybody, and I will make sure you guys are on the distribution list, but I think we've already shared it with you. If not, I'll forward it to you again.
Okay. No, thank you. Just want to make sure some of the guys have asked already if they can go in there and start looking for some of the stuff and on there. So just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. So thanks.
Yeah. Yep. I'll double check as soon as we hang up here.
Yes, Salem, this is Miguel. That along the same vein, I think documentation and retention are going to be the biggest pieces, and I wondered, any of these sessions going to care for showing us through that? Like, what's your timeline for that QMS implementation? Will we plan on reviewing all that?
Yeah, so I think the last session, and let me see what my session is. Yeah, it's the last session in January. So we're actually going to double up on this day. We'll go over documentation, record control management, internal audits, and we'll also touch base on the session that we missed. I think it was last week. So we'll get into the nitty gritty there and make sure everyone is aware and how to access these documents and records and everything.
All right, great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right, Jim, anything from you?
No, that's it. I think it was a good session.
All right. Well, I think our next session is after Christmas on Thursday, the 27th. If you guys could, looks like most of you can make this, but if you can't make this call, let me know. I know a lot of people are going on vacation, so if we need to reschedule, we will. All right. Well, thanks for your time, everyone. As always, reach out to me if you have any questions, myself or Brad. And if I don't talk to you, everyone have a great, safe holiday. And I'll talk to you guys later.
Be safe.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Merry Christmas.